Hi, good afternoon. I'm going to be talking about the basic and essential things that you need to do to get your Brooklyn Business Project underway. For the Monday class, people are pretty well set in terms of having their team structure, their team captain, and also having decided what business they're going to study. For the Tuesday section, we haven't met for 2 classes because of the Jewish holidays the last 2 weeks, so I've heard from so far one team captain, because I had to assign captains since we haven't met, to try to get people to organize better. I heard from one captain, I heard from a couple of team members, 2 people who came in today and said that I haven't been able. I've tried to email, I've tried to reach out to people in my team, but they haven't responded. So Tuesday class needs to get on board, and I've volunteered to come in next Tuesday to meet either with the entire class or with particular teams so that we can go over and understand what's required. But let me explain in the video very concisely and clearly what's required of you right now. So September 23rd or 24th, depending on the section you were in, you were supposed to have coordinated with your team and decided on a business that you were going to study, a business in the surrounding community, in the Brooklyn Flatbush Junction area, right here near Brooklyn College. So that's the first stage. And the second stage for your second part of the project, and you still have some time for this, but you should be working on it. For Monday class, it's due Monday the 15th of October, and for Tuesday section, it's due the 16th, Tuesday of October. So you really need to put some time into this. And what you need to do, think about yourself as part detective and part marketing researcher. So you're part of a team. Think about working in a multicultural marketing agency. And what you have to do is you have to select a business in the community. It could be Bobo Dry Cleaners, it can be a jewelry store, a convenience store, a beauty parlor. There's a couple of choices on the syllabus, recommendations, but you can choose any business. Last semester, we had a group of students looking at a CPA firm, and it was run by a Chinese American woman. And they looked at how she was running the business, and her business was much more geared toward the Chinese American population. And so a lot of her signage, a lot of her advertising was in Chinese with only very little text always written in English. So when she handed out flyers, when she had newspaper advertisements, it was always geared to the Chinese American population. But what was interesting is she said, no, my business is, we have Chinese American clients, but her business is pretty much focused on people who live in the neighborhood, and they're usually not Chinese American. So she was putting a lot more effort into reaching a community that was not her main target, as she expressed it. So if you were studying a business like that, you might like to look at, well, how can this business market itself better to the Caribbean American population, which is right here in the surrounding Flatbush community? What kinds of churches, what kinds of community organizations do they go to? Do they read certain newspapers? Or can they be reached in social media in a certain way? So those are the kind of things you want to do toward the end of your report. But right now, what do we need to do? We need to choose a business. We need to figure out in that report that we're going to present, we need to figure out what does the business do. So if it's Starbucks, if it's Shakespeare Books, if it's Bobo Dry Cleaners, who's running it, how is it run? So the dry cleaning shop is a family operation. Flatbush Copy is run by 2 brothers. It's a family business they inherited from their father. Starbucks, Shakespeare, part of McDonald's, part of larger corporations. So those are very different types of structures. So you want to outline that. What kind of product is the business selling, producing, or what kind of service is it offering? So you want to let the reader know. You want to situate that business in a community, and you want to also let us know how it's run, what it's doing, what it's selling. How does it look? That's a very important thing. So what does the outside of the business look like? Is it a pleasant appearance? Explain, because people don't necessarily have the same understanding of what pleasant is. I'll give you an example. Last semester, and this is interesting, and this is not something that you should be worried about. This is something very positive, and this is a good thing when you're working in a team. If you have very different concepts of how well the business is presenting itself. For Ovi's Restaurant, one of the team members reported back Because what I did is last semester they were working individually before they worked in teams. So it was a little bit of a different approach. So I heard from them individually. So one person writes back and says, Ovi's restaurant is sloppy, it is unpleasant, I would never eat there, it doesn't seem hygienic, you know, the door is shattered, the glass of the door is shattered, I never go back. Another person went in and said it's like an oasis, it's like a Caribbean paradise, it's relaxing, they have great music, they have wonderful tropical plants that makes you feel like you've stepped out of Brooklyn. So they had very different assessments of the store's appearance. And that was something good because later on they could talk about that and they could try to go to the next level, which was, well, how does the customer, who are they serving? What kind of population are they serving? And how does that customer respond to the restaurant? And so through observation, through going in the restaurant at different times of day, observing people, they found that customers actually seemed to be much more along the lines of the other person who said it was a kind of oasis. It was a place that was pleasant, people liked to linger, people invited family, they came back. A lot of people who knew about the restaurant knew about it through word of mouth. So they had a chance to even talk to a couple of customers, and that was good. And so what happened in this business, the owner was responsive and had agreed to let students come in and study the business. So that was a little different situation. And he allowed them to, he said, you know, he went up, introduced them to a couple of customers who were coming for a long time, and then they were able to get that information. So that's not always going to be the case. You may study a business where you're not going to interview the management, the owner, you're just going to come to your conclusions through observation, and that's fine. I had somebody who studied the Starbucks cafe right here at Brooklyn College, the library cafe, and she never spoke to the manager, she never spoke to anyone, she just observed and she looked at the kinds of the way they provided customer service, some of the criticisms she made. They weren't always open at the hours they were supposed to be open, they were not serving all the products that were on the list that they were supposed to be serving, so her recommendations at the end of the semester were very specific in terms of what they had to do to improve, to do things in the way that they were supposed to do them. So you want to look at how the business appears from the outside. What about the signage? Is it clear? Sometimes a business, you pass by a business and it's not clear to you what they're doing, what kind of an operation it is. So you want to know, is the signage clear? Can you see it from across the street? Do you have to be right in front of the store to know? Is it in very small print? Then going in the business, what is it like in terms of the interior, the placement of merchandise, the organization? If it's a restaurant, is there art? Is there a certain kind of decor, a theme? Is there music? What kind of an ambiance, we could say, does the business present to its customer? What is it trying to communicate about itself? And then another thing you want to begin looking at that you don't have to delve into as deeply right now as you will later is how is the business marketing itself. So for example, you'll see when you go to Blackboard on the tab I created, which is Brooklyn Business Project, I gave an example of a PowerPoint presentation by a group of students who studied Bulletproof Comics. And I think it was a very good presentation. It was basic, it was practical. They got right to the point, they looked at the weaknesses, the strengths of the business, and they made good suggestions for how the business could market itself. In this class, it was multicultural marketing, so what they did, they focused on how the company could better market itself to Brooklyn College students, an audience it really was not at all targeting, but should have and would do very well to target. So that was a really, really good presentation. In your case, you want to come to, at the end, an evaluation of how the business can move to another level in terms of not only of marketing, which you want to analyze. Is the business on Facebook? Is it using social media? Is it appropriate? Is it using the appropriate media? So for Bobo Dry Cleaner, is it appropriate to recommend them to be on Twitter and to be on Facebook? Probably not, because people don't really want to be following a dry cleaning business in social media. You have to think about where it would be appropriate to market and how it would be appropriate to market. But then in the multicultural component, which you'll be looking at later in the semester, but just try to think about it a little bit now. Who are they targeting right now? Are they targeting a particular ethnic community? Are they making efforts? If you see signage in Spanish and English, then obviously they are making a conscious, concerted effort to market to Hispanic or Spanish-speaking Spanish-speaking population. So note that. And then you're going to decide at the end of the semester what population could they be reaching out to and how could they be reaching out to that particular population. So let's say Far Better Copy is focusing all of its efforts on Brooklyn College, on students, on administrators, but it's really not thinking about the surrounding Caribbean American population, or maybe it could be doing something to reach out to a Hispanic or Asian American population that it hasn't thought of. And so you're going to want to pick a population that you think could be a good target for that business, and you want to establish why you think it might be, right? It could be that that community is very heavily represented in this surrounding community. That may be one reason. Or you may just see an opportunity that, here we are, 15,000 students, on Brooklyn College campus, and you have a large Asian American population. Perhaps the business could be doing something to reach out to that population through clubs, through other kinds of means. So you want to establish that at the end of your project. But for now, familiarize yourself with the business, have people go out in the team, look at the business, report back. You may have somebody concentrate on one area, looking at the products, another person concentrating on the outdoor exterior appearance. But you pretty much all want to contribute so that there's a dialogue and that the report comes together that looks like it's thoughtful and it's been maybe not just pieced together like somebody did paragraph 1, somebody else with a very different writing style did paragraph 2, but that there was some dialogue and conversation. And certainly if there is disagreement, bring that out. That's important, and that's something that it's going to help you in the end of your project. So thank you for listening, and if you need to meet, if you need to have any clarification, you can contact me on the Gmail account.